Okay. Okay, welcome everybody. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Welcome to the Reforma Virtual Spanish Language Book Buzz Winter Series. My name is Jessica, and I am a supervising librarian for Children's Services at the New York Public Library. I am also secretary for the Reforma Northeast chapter. So this free event is open to librarians, educators, students, and professionals interested in serving Latino and Spanish-speaking communities. Today, in our second session of this series, we have Candlewick Press, La Librería, Spanish Publishers, Lorito Books, and Lectorum Publications, who will be featuring their new children's and young adult Spanish language titles. We will ask all of our participants that you please keep your audio and cameras off during the presentations, okay, to avoid catching anybody's noises, okay? And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Margarita Engel. Margarita Engel is the Cuban-American author of verse books such as The Surrender Tree, Enchanted Air, Forest World, and Drum Dream Girl. She is the recipient of many awards, including the NSK Neustadt Prize, a Newbery Honor, multiple Pura Belpré, and the International Latino Book Awards and Honors, among many, many others. Margarita served as the 2017 to 2019 Young People's Poet Laureate. Her most recent books in Spanish include Manos que Bailan, La Joven Aviadora, y Un Pregón de Frutas. Margarita was born in Los Angeles, but developed a deep attachment to her mother's homeland during childhood summers with relatives on the island. Margarita now lives in Central California with her husband. Welcome, Margarita.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Muchas gracias. This is really an honor to speak to librarians and teachers. Of course, with the pandemic, it's been a while since I've been able to see you face to face or see your students, but I just love the chance to talk about poetry in particular. I'll talk a little bit about specific books and maybe read a poem or two. And at the end, if you have any questions, I think there's a little bit of time. But what I really want to talk about is poetry as a refuge. I think that if we let poetry flow, it's someplace we can find a kind of peace, even when the subjects are difficult. Poetry, I think of as an experience, a form of exploration. I don't agree when people call it a genre, because I think of it as something that changes each time you read a poem. It's a little bit different. Poems are emotional. They're real and solid. The words are bridges between our minds. They connect people. By reading, we enter each other's minds. We can listen and experience that empathy that leads to compassion, which is the seed of peace, in my opinion. And peace for me is very personal. I think that most Cuban-Americans have experienced either exile or inherited exile. My mother is from Cuba. My father is from California. So I tend to write about those two places that I know best. When I was a child, growing up in Los Angeles, there were very few Cubans in Los Angeles at that time. Of course, there are many now. But we were able to travel back and forth to visit relatives on the island, and that was a natural aspect of life until a certain point when travel restrictions ended our visits to the extended family. While I had that contact with my mother's extended family, it was so easy to move between languages and cultures. And, you know, as a child, flying in an airplane felt like a winged experience. So when I wrote in my childhood memoir, Enchanted Air, which is Aire Encantado in Spanish, you know, I wrote about flying as this amazing thing. Of course, it's a very different experience today. But by the time I was a teenager, it was easier for a US citizen to walk on the moon than to visit my abuelita, bisabuelita, you know, primos, tíos in Cuba. The hostility between the two countries was like a wall in the ocean, separating the two halves of myself. Those loss of travel rights created a before and after in my life that hit right as I was about to enter junior high. My last childhood trip to Cuba was the summer of 1960, and the travel restrictions became very severe while we were still there, and diplomatic relations were breaking down. So these are difficult subjects, and yet with poetry, the beauty of language allows me to experience hope, no matter how sorrowful the memories or the subject. My newest book comes out next month, Your Heart, My Sky. There will be a Spanish edition. There are Spanish editions of most of my newer books, but they don't always come out right at the same time. Your Heart, My Sky takes its title from a Jose Marti poem, and it's about the 1990s in Cuba, which was a time of hunger, a time of terrible hunger. And that's one of the main things that caused the rafter crisis, where so many young Cubans and sometimes entire families se tiraron al mar, threw themselves into the sea, trying to reach the north, Miami or Tampa or any place the raft might land. I'm going to read just the first poem from this new book. This was a subject that I wrote about while it was happening, and I wrote it for adults. I was traveling to Cuba often during the 1990s, taking suitcases full of food for relatives and reestablishing those family contacts after the many years of travel restrictions. From 1991 on, it became possible to visit relatives. It was often very complicated, still often very complicated, but at least it was possible. So after an absence of 31 years, from 1960 to 1991, this book is set in the summer of 1991 on the island of Cuba. Imagine a year when food suddenly vanishes. It's the beginning of a decade known as a periodo especial en tiempos de paz, the special period in times of peace. Hunger drives tens of thousands into the ferocious blue sea on fragile rafts. Hunger teaches others how to cling to red soil and green fields, reinventing ancient ways to survive. Hunger helps lonely beings sing. And I will leave it to you to find out who the singer in the story is. I hope that you will read it, even though hunger sounds like such a sad subject. It is a love story. And I do hope that teenagers in particular will read it with empathy and compassion. With the pandemic now, at the time when I wrote it, you know, I started writing it a few years ago. I had no idea that there would be a pandemic and that hunger in the United States would increase so much too. And hunger in Cuba has gotten much worse again as well. Those are such unpredictable things. But I think that we can empathize with other countries even more now, perhaps, than North Americans might have been able to before the pandemic, because we know what it's like to feel vulnerable. For so long, the US has had a tendency to feel safe, while bad things were happening only in other countries. And we know that just simply isn't true. All writers are different, but for me, the process of writing poetry is simple. My creative writing professor, Tomás Rivera, the great Tomás Rivera, who you all probably know, taught me one thing in particular. He said to write from the heart without worrying about getting published or being popular or approved of, accepted. So for the first draft for me, there's no substitute for pen and paper and just the quiet flow of time and solitude. I have to try and imagine that I'm completely alone with my work. There's no audience, there's no reader, there's no editor. It's just me and the work. When it's going well, I don't know whether a minute or an hour has passed. I'm traveling, time traveling, scribbling. I love to call it scribbling when I talk to kids, because for their writing, I think they should feel free to explore, to try things, can change them later. I don't think that they should approach it with any perfectionism. The hard work of revising comes later at a desk with the computer, where I try to make sure that my intensely personal words can be enjoyed and understood by someone else, the reader. So then I have to make sure that my scribbling makes sense. But that freedom to let the poems flow is a unique experience. And my favorite line of poetry in the whole world is by Dulce Maria Loynaz, a Cuban poet who wrote, "En mi verso soy libre." That's the title of the poem. In my verse, I am free. And it's also a line, the first line of the poem. I really do feel free in my verse. I feel that poetry helps us find a refuge. And for teenagers, it may be the only place where they feel free. Poetry creates a mysterious form of communication. It's interactive. The poem I read to you a few minutes ago, the first poem in this new book, is mostly open space. People tend to call that blank space. I feel like it's very inviting. And especially for a reluctant reader, it should be inviting, because they look at that and they know they can finish this book quickly, and it's not intimidating like a very densely packed page would be. But those open spaces between lines on a page are not empty. They're filled with the author's, the poet's emotions, and with the reader's emotions. They're filled with a resonance, like the echoes after ringing a bell. And those echoes are, to me, a form of music. So the poem itself has music. It has a rhythm. It may or may not have end rhymes, but I tend to use a lot of internal rhymes. I tend to use a lot of vowel rhymes. And when only the vowels of the words rhyme, there's a kind of music where I think the reader might not realize where the musical quality is coming from, but between that and the rhythm of the language, there's a comfort and a joy that's very natural, like bird song or a hoofbeat or a heartbeat, those things that I mentioned in Drum Dream Girl. So I really do feel like poetry is a form of music. And I'm not musical at all. I can't sing. I only sing on paper. There is an actual fear of poetry, a phobia that has a name, metrophobia. It's a deep fear of not understanding a poem. And I think this has been passed along from adults who tell kids, oh, poetry is hard to understand. Well, that's just simply not true. Poetry is not hard to understand. My poems certainly are not hard to understand. They're very simple and they're very straightforward. And there may be some poems from kind of a postmodern, 20th century era that adults had to study in college and they remember it was hard to understand. But part of that is just being asked to understand and interpret. I don't think we should be asking children to interpret poems before they're ready for that kind of an academic approach. Instead of saying, what does the poem mean? I hope that teachers will say, how does this poem make you feel? Because like music and like a song, a poem is emotional. So it changes depending on how we feel at the moment. It's the meaning of the poem changes for the poet. Each time I read the same poem that I wrote myself, the meaning might be slightly different because of my own emotional state on that particular day, which I can tell you is very different now than it would have been a year ago before I became a complete hermit. I mean, before the pandemic, we were in a very different emotional state than we are now. And so I really think that we do a disservice to children and to teenagers when we say, interpret this poem. What does this poem mean? That can trigger that fear of poetry, metrophobia. Instead, if we say, how does this poem make you feel? I think they're invited to be a participant. It's interactive. And they're not going to all feel the same way. And they're not going to all feel the same way on the same day. And they're certainly not going to all feel the same way that the teacher feels. So it's very personal. Poetry is very personal. And a lot of its value is there because it is a process of exploration. We're trying to express the inexpressible. Now, in a verse novel, I'm also trying to tell a story. So it's not all going to be music. There are some narrative aspects as well. My last verse novel, most recent for this past year, was With a Star in My Hand, which is Con una estrella en la mano in the Spanish edition. And it's a biographical verse novel about Rubén Darío, the great Nicaraguan poet. My most recent picture book, Dancing Hands, will come out, which did win a Pura Belpré Award for illustration for Rafael Lopez, and he does such beautiful painting. And that will come out in Spanish in May as Manos que Bailan. Song of Frutas will come out this summer. It's about the pregoneros, and there will be a Spanish edition of that, also Un Pregón de Frutas, that will come out at the same time. And the illustrator of that is Sara Palacios. But A Song of Frutas is about los pregoneros in Cuba, these singing vendors. They were actually outlawed during the height of the socialist ban against private business and making a profit, and then they were allowed to start singing again. They walk down the street singing about whatever they're selling, but fruit is one of the most common things. So that was just written out of sheer joy of seeing the pregoneros back on the street, in Cuba. So I've written actually 2 very different stories about food. Your Heart, My Sky this year for hunger, and Un Preón de Frutas for the joy of singing about food. I hope that I've given you a little bit of an introduction to my work and to how I feel about poetry. And I'd be happy to try to answer any questions about either poetry or my own books. The only thing I can't do is predict Cuba's future. It's all up in the air right now as far as the relations between our 2 countries, travel restrictions, and so forth. But thank you so much. It's been a privilege to talk to you.
Thank you, Margarita. That was so beautiful. So we do have some questions in the chat and a couple minutes left. How do you introduce preschoolers to poetry?
I think that preschoolers do like end rhymes. You know, I mean, I do think that preschoolers understand end rhymes, and I wouldn't try to give them anything more complicated than that. I wouldn't talk to them about vowel rhymes and so forth, like I mentioned before, because that's in the books for the older kids. But even if there aren't end rhymes, I think a book like Drum Dream Girl can be read to preschoolers. They do understand the music that's just in the rhythm of the poem. Drum Dream Girl is a book that I've read to very young children. And what amazes me is that they understand the social justice concept of that book immediately. And it's very rewarding to see that boys understand it, because all you have to do is say, imagine the reverse. What if boys weren't allowed to play drums, or, you know, drive monster trucks, or whatever you want to say, race motorcycles, and only girls were allowed to? And they're, no, that's not fair. So they understand a story and a message, along with just the fun of the rhythm and the near rhymes in poetry. And of course, they are very used to end rhymes from some more traditional types of poetry, but they just have a natural sense of music.
Yeah. And then we have one last question. When did you start writing poetry?
I started writing poetry when I was very young. My mother read poetry to me. She read Jose Marti in Spanish at first. And then as I got a little bit older, she was learning English, and she started taking me to the library in Los Angeles, Arroyo Seco branch of the public library, and reading to me in English. And for me, writing was just a natural outgrowth of reading. I read passionately. By the time I was 5 or 6, I was making up poems as I walked to and from school, just kind of to the rhythm of my footsteps. And I didn't write them down. I would just, I walked alone to and from school because my sister was older and she was already in a different school. And so just, kind of making up poems out loud as I walked to the rhythm of footsteps.
Thank you so much. It was lovely to have you. And, we thank you so much for your support and your love of Reforma. We know you support our Reforma Valle Central chapter quite often. So thank you so much for that. It means a lot to us. And thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. I love Reforma. Gracias.
I love you. Gracias. Thank you so much, Margarita, and good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Celia Avila de Santiago, and I am a senior librarian for the Los Angeles Public Library. I am also a Reforma Los Angeles member and the National PR Chair. Our first presenter today is Dana Egger from Candlewick Press. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit reforma.org/bookbuzz. And remember to use our hashtag #ReformaBookBuzz, if you're tweeting about us or posting on social media. Feel free to add your questions to the comment box during the presentation, and they will be answered at the end. And just as a reminder, the presentations are being recorded for future viewing. So if you can please keep your microphones and cameras off. And Dana, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Let me just share my screen, make sure this is working. Okay, thank you so much. My name is Dana Eager, and I work in school and library marketing at Candlewick Press. Sorry, there we go. Okay. And I just want to say thank you to Reforma. I'm so excited to get to be here. I love doing these virtual events because it's such a great way to stay connected and get to introduce some of our titles to everyone, even though we're all, far away from each other. So thank you so much, and thank you everyone for being here. Here is a sneak peek of all of the titles I'm going to present today, and there's my email on the screen too. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. First of all, I just wanted to remind everyone, if you're not already following us on these social media platforms, please feel free to do that. And it's a great way to get information about a lot of our new titles. You can definitely find all of our Spanish language titles on our Pinterest board at that link. That's a great way to stay apprised of them. And if you're not already subscribed to our e-newsletters, here are all of the ones we have. Candlewick Circ is specifically for librarians. It goes out every couple of weeks. It's a great way to receive information about upcoming author events, author interviews, information about titles, exciting giveaways, and all that fun stuff. So you can go to that link on our website too to sign up there. So let's get started. First up is, sorry, let me make sure. Okay, let's go back. Sorry about that. First up is Mercy Suarez Changes Gears, which is the Newbery Medal winning book from Meg Medina, which is now available in Spanish, which we're so excited about. It was translated by Alexis Romay. And is Mercy Suarez Se Pone las Pilas. So if you're not already familiar with this book, I'll tell you a little about it. It's for 9 to 12-year-olds, and sixth grader Mercy must navigate the tricky years of middle school when she starts at her private school in Florida. That means harder classes, new friends, and mean girls, of course, all of the joys of middle school. Plus, things are changing at home, and Mercy's beloved grandfather Lolo is starting to act strangely. So their family must come to terms with the fact that he has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. If you haven't already fallen in love with the character of Mercy Suarez, you definitely will in this relatable and heartwarming story of family that is now so exciting, available in Spanish. Meg Medina, of course, is a very prolific author who has received many awards over the years. She has received the Pura Belpré Author Award for her young adult novel, Yaqui Delgado Wants to Kick Your Ass, and is the author of picture books Mango Abuela and Me and Tia Isa Wants a Car, which are also both available in Spanish. And next up is another book from Meg Medina, illustrated by Sonia Sanchez and translated into Spanish by Teresa Moir. Evelyn Del Rey Se Muda. It's a bittersweet story of two girls who will always be each other's numero uno, even though one is unfortunately moving away. Evelyn Del Rey is Daniela's best friend. They do everything together and even live across the street from one another in twin apartments. Daniela with her mommy and hamster, and Evelyn with her mommy, Poppy, and cat. Evelyn and Daniela are both so sad that Evelyn is moving away. But until she has to leave, though, the girls play amid the moving boxes, making promises to keep in touch because they know that their friendship will always be special. And on that illustration, you can see, they live across the street. They're doing the old traveling between the two apartments with the string, which is fun. The tenderness of Meg Medina's beautifully written story about friendship and change is balanced by Sonia Sanchez's colorful and vibrant depictions of the girls' neighborhood. The last spread also shows a grown-up Daniela looking at letters from Evelyn, showing the reader that you never forget your first mejor amiga. And there they are saying goodbye. It's a really gorgeous story that came out this past fall, so it's out now. It's a beautiful story of friendship that will especially resonate with kids today who maybe haven't been able to see their own friends in person or play with them in a long time. Next up is Imagina by Juan Felipe Herrera, illustrated by Caldecott honoree Lauren Castillo, and it was translated into Spanish by Georgina Lazaro. This beautiful picture book is by Poet Laureate Juan Felipe Herrera, and it's an autobiographical story of his own childhood and experience growing up with migrant farm workers as parents. So he had to travel a lot when he was a kid, and the book shows him moving around. He starts a new school and doesn't know English, so he has to learn and tries to teach himself. And soon he just becomes obsessed with writing, which leads him to, of course, be the person that he is today. And the book follows him all the way to adulthood as he became the United States Poet Laureate, reading his own poems on the steps of the Library of Congress. So Imagine came out a few years ago, and now we're so excited that this fall, Imagina has come out, and it is a gorgeous picture book, and the story is told in this beautiful poem by Juan Felipe. And the book, by the end, is asking the reader, if Juan can do all of that, then just imagine what you can do. So with this illustrated poem of endless possibility, Juan Felipe Herrera and Lauren Castillo breathe magic into the hopes and dreams of readers searching for their place in life. Next up is Gustavo El Fantasmito Temido, which came out in English and Spanish this past summer. It is the debut picture book written and illustrated, the English and Spanish versions, by Flavia Z. Drago. Flavia Z. Drago was born and raised in Mexico City and is a graphic designer. This adorable picture book is about a shy ghost named Gustavo. Gustavo is good at doing all sorts of ghostly things, like walking through, oh, I'm sorry, I thought I had, okay. I apologize, everybody. Gustavo is good at doing all sorts of ghostly things, like walking through walls, making objects fly, and glowing in the dark. And he loves nothing more than playing beautiful music on his violin. But some things are harder for him to do, like making friends. Whenever he tries to get close to people, he realizes they just can't see him. Now that the Day of the Dead is fast approaching, what can he do to make them notice him and to share with them something he loves? So the fancifully detailed artwork and visual humor in this book makes it a sweet story of loneliness, bravery, and friendship with adorable illustrations and a little ghost that I'm sure everyone will fall in love with. I know I did. And obviously, it's great for Day of the Dead, but can be, read as a great story any time of the year. Next up, I just wanted to mention that we have a couple of new board books from Leslie Patricelli. Mommy and Poppy. They're coming out this spring. And they are adorable, of course. It's from everyone's favorite one-haired baby, come two fun and funny board books, which sing the praises of mother and father in Spanish, which perfect for Father's Day or Mother's Day, or really any time. And as you already got a sneak peek, sorry about that, everybody, we have a lot of bilingual board books from Leslie Patricelli, covering all sorts of different little adventures that this little baby gets into. So it's a great bilingual board book to use with babies to teach them both English and Spanish. So next up, I'm really excited to introduce this new title written and illustrated by the Caldecott Honor-winning author of Alma and How She Got Her Name. We have La Selva de Zhonyas. She also, like Flavia, did the Spanish translation for us. Robert F. Seibert Medal winner Juana Martinez-Neal explores the wonders of the rainforest with Zhonya, an Ashaninka girl in her joyful outdoor adventures. Zhonya's home is the Amazon rainforest of Peru, where it is always green and full of life. Every morning, the rainforest calls to Zhonya, and every morning she answers. She visits the sloth family, greets the giant anteater, and runs with the speedy jaguar. But one morning, the rainforest calls to her in a troubled voice, which is what you're seeing on this spread. How will Zhonya answer? So the engaging text emphasizes Zhonya's empowering bond with her home, while the illustrations burst with luxuriant greens and delicate details. Illuminating back matter also includes a translation of the story in Ashaninka, information on the Ashaninka community, and resources on the Amazon rainforest and its wildlife. So it's a beautiful story, but it also informs readers about the threats that the Amazon really is facing and sort of subtly gives a call to its readers to take action. I'm just going to read a little bit from the author's note. This book is very important to Juana. So she says, I am delighted that the Ashaninka translation is included in both the English and Spanish editions of Zhonya's Rainforest, and I am grateful to the many people involved in it. This was a book about Zhonya and her lands. She had to be able to read the story in her mother tongue. And as I was working on sketches for Zhonya, I learned about a very small group of women from Chazuta making paper from banana bark. The texture and color were perfect for the book, and more importantly, the paper was handmade by women from the Amazon with the Amazon itself. So the illustrations were actually created on paper made from banana bark, which is really cool. And you can learn more about all of this and Juana's experience in writing this story and why it was so important to her by reading the author's note complete at the back of the book. All right, so now I'm moving on. Oh, and so that's coming out this March, so look for that soon. But now I'm going to talk about a couple more exciting titles we have coming out in the fall. First up is Mambo Mucho Mambo, El Baile que Atravesó la Barrera del Color is a new nonfiction picture book written by Dean Robbins and illustrated by Pura Belpré award-winning illustrator, Eric Velasquez, coming out in fall 2021. The book was translated by Georgina Lazaro, and the English version is being released simultaneously. Mambo Mucho Mambo portrays the power of music and dance to transcend racial, religious, and ethnic boundaries by telling the true story of dancers during the 1940s. Dance halls were not integrated, and people of different races and cultures typically only danced their own style. That is, until the creation of Latin jazz, which blends jazz trumpets and saxophones with Latin maracas and congas. Soon people of all kinds began dancing the mambo. Unfortunately, there still wasn't a place for everyone to dance together until 1948, when the Palladium Ballroom in New York City opened their doors to everyone and hired the originators of Latin jazz, the band Machito and his Afro-Cubans, to play, so that people of all races and nationalities could dance the mambo together. So if you're like me, you didn't know much about the Palladium before reading this book, but it is really informative and really interesting, and we're so excited to be able to have it come out in both English and Spanish. And Eric Velasquez's love of Latin jazz is really evident in all of the gorgeous illustrations, which you'll see soon in this fall. It's evident in the swing and step of the dancers and his art. He himself has a strong connection to the Palladium, as his parents actually met there. And as he puts it, he wouldn't be here today without the Palladium. And you can learn more about the history of the Palladium and the real-life dancers portrayed in the book by reading the author's note that will be at the back of the book, on sale October 5th, 2021. And now you might recognize this next title, as it is the first book in the beloved Juana and Lucas series by Juana Medina, and it won the 2017 Pura Belpré Author Award. I'm so excited to announce that the Spanish version, translated by Alexis Romay, will be coming out this fall in both hardcover and paperback. In case you're not familiar with this wonderfully adorable and relatable series, here's a little more about Juana. Juana loves many things: eating Brussels sprouts, living in Bogota, Colombia, and especially her dog, Lucas, the best amigo ever. But she does not love wearing her itchy school uniform, solving math problems, or going to dance class, and she really does not love learning English. But throughout the book, her abuelos tell her that she has to learn English in order to go on a special trip. So she figures she might as well give it a shot. So it's an adorably illustrated series, and we're so excited to have this great early chapter book for readers available in Spanish on sale October 19th, 2021. And last but not least, Mi Casa is My Home. This adorable new picture book is by Loren Sala and illustrated by Zara Gonzalez Huang and is also coming out this fall. It is not all in Spanish, but there are a lot of Spanglish terms and uses, and it's a great story that we're really excited about. The narrator is a young girl named Lucia who invites you to visit her bustling casa and meet her intergenerational family. Lucia lives in her casa with her big, loud, beautiful familia, and she's going to show you around. From La Puerta, where Abuela likes to wave to the neighbors and wait for packages, to La Cocina, where Lucia watches her mama turn empty pots into soups and arrozes, to El Patio, where Lucia and her cousins put on magic shows. Lucia loves her busy and cozy casa. Throughout the book, Lucia shows the reader around her house using a mix of English and Spanish words. It's a celebration of families who either speak both English and Spanish or who strive to keep their Latinx culture and traditions alive. With warmth and joy, author Loren Sala and illustrator Zara Gonzalez Huang celebrate home in this adorable bilingual picture book, which will be on sale October 12th, 2021. So we're really excited to have all of these new titles coming out soon, and I'm so glad that I got to share them with all of you. So thank you again for having me. Oh,
Great. Thank you, Dana.
yeah.
If anyone has questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. Okay. But we got some excitement about some of the titles, including
Okay, good.
Gustavo in both languages, and some love for Meg Medina as well. So thank you, Dana.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So our next presenter is Cristina Terrazas from La Librería. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit reforma.org/bookbuzz. And remember to use our hashtag #ReformaBookBuzz. Feel free to add your questions to the comment box during the presentation, and they will be answered at the end.
Hola a todos. Hi, soy Cristina Terrazas from La Librería in Los Angeles. I'm just going to give a quick little history about how we started and what we're all about in case you're not familiar with us. So we were founded in 2012 here in Los Angeles, hence LA La Librería. We were founded by two women, Kiara Arroyo and Selene Navarrete. And our mission, which is similar to many here, it started as preserving Spanish language, and that grew quite quickly when we started to preserving the array of histories and cultures represented across the Spanish-speaking world. And then on top of that grew into growing to create a place of representation for every child and young adult in their literature. And just like, you know, children learn and live and grow better with full bellies, they also learn and grow better with pride and a sense of pride and identity. So that's a big part of our work and our mission and what pushes us and the way that we curate collections for schools and libraries. We're unique in that we work with over 50 different publishers here in the US and all over Latin America and Spain. And so we pick and choose the best of the best from those places and we curate for schools and libraries. Our collection is always current. We're very aware of the major renaissance that's going on with children's literature. We're excited about it. We attend Fil Liber, of course, virtually this year. Our collection is relevant and progressive. And while we see Authentic literature is very important. We love a great translation as well. But we also have pride for Latino stories, Afro-Latino stories, art, poetry, myths, and legends. And we believe in not only including those works, but promoting them so that they become a part of children's nostalgia, which is so powerful. I'm gonna get into my presentation because I have a lot to share. We're gonna start with children's books and get into some YA after that. So let me get this going. All right, share screen. Okay, so here we are. Okay. We believe in the power of being bilingual. We are La Librería. Here we go. So the first book I'd like to share with you is a book that we've actually come out with this last year. It's an essential collection for all, let me just move this really quick. So for all professionals devoted to bilingualism, we've put together 262 children's books to read in Spanish. We highlight the titles that we have curated in this collection and outlined and categorized them by América, which is our first section, my first book, which is a board book section, read aloud for picture books, One of Us, which is our highlighted author and illustrator. It's Real is our nonfiction section. Stories and Strips are graphic novels. We have an abundant graphic novels collection. I Can't Stop Reading, which would be early readers and chapter books, and then Get Involved, which is our section on social justice. This is just an example of a page from our graphic novels. We will be coming out this month actually with another mini catalogo of 100 titles plus, which I would love to send you digitally. So this is our Can't Stop Reading section, just like a quick glance, and this is one of our pages of social justice section. The catalog, that one is kinder through 8th grade. And all of our curations that we do them with the pleasure of reading in mind. So yeah, we believe that it all starts with the kids wanting to read something and some delicious illustrations. So we'll start with the first title here, El Gran Viaje de las Familias Extraordinarias, The Great Trip of the Extraordinary Families. This is a personal favorite of mine. It's quite fun. It's a mystery, it's an adventure. And at the same time, we see a variety of types of families and learn about family diversity. It's for 8+. So Inspector Cruz and her daughter Alba, they get aboard a cruise ship ready to enjoy a vacation. And the first night aboard, the Duchess's emeralds have disappeared. And so they go investigating and talking with all these families and getting to know a lot of people while solving a mystery. This is just a little glimpse of inside of the book. I think the illustrations are adorable, and it's great for like 8 years old or even younger. Next title here is Cuando la tecnología secuestró a mi familia. So when technology kidnapped my family, fun. It's a picture book by Pilar Serrano. You're gonna learn about, family and family dynamics. So the protagonist, she does not like tech. She doesn't like cell phones and tablets, but the members of her family love it. Her sister's always on social, her brother loves video games, and her parents are always on. And so what's she gonna do about it? Really fun book. And I think a lot of kids can identify with both sides, right? Especially right now. Next title we have here is Ese robot soy yo, which that robot, it's me. This is a fun story about, so it's about Kenta, and this is like a 5+. Kenta, who's tired of doing chores and cleaning his room and all these responsibilities, he decides to invest in a robot and to duplicate himself through the robot. And he's trying to teach and train the robot to be just like him. And he needs to know all the details. And so it's a really fun adventure. It's an adorable book with a minimal color palette, which is fun. And so he starts reflecting on everything that makes him him, which is the scar on his knee, his sticky hands, and everything that comes to his mind. It becomes more complicated as he thinks of everything that makes him him and how to put that into a robot. So it's a fun story for 5+. And there we go, a little bit of the inside for you guys to check out. Okay, in the last book buzz, we presented Cuando el hielo se derrite, which is about a mother and her polar bear baby. And this is part of a similar type of book that comes from Saudi. And this collection of books is for the Club de Pequeños Activistas. So it's for little activist kids, which I love. We say 6+ for this. You learn about everything through an activist lens, which is very La Librería. So this small elephant, in Cuando el hielo se derrite, we learned about global warming and the ice caps melting, and you form a relationship with the polar bear family, where in this one, you form a relationship with a little elephant who's trying to get to the other side of the jungle forest to see his family. But due to deforestation, and I think this one actually goes really well with maybe if you were going to get La Selva de Zonia, I think these two go really well together. And it's about problem solving and working on a way to find a pathway back, a safe way back. It's beautiful, it's fascinating. It could be tied into like a habitats curriculum or section. So it's kind of an everything book, and the format of it is really lovely as well, sort of like a graphic novel vibe with the word bubbles. Yeah, this is a sad picture. I should have shown you one of the end pictures where they end up growing more trees, which is what we like to see. All right, talk about relevant for today. La vida secreta de los virus. Let's talk about viruses. I think this is going to resonate with a lot of children and young adults right now. It's out of Saudi as well, which is one of our new favorite publishers. So what is a virus and how many are around us? And as you see on the inside, some really fun illustrations where they're in the bathroom and all the places where they can be. And then we learn all the details. The thing I love about this book that I've learned recently actually is the author. The author is a group of women. It's a colectivo, a collective called Ellas Educan. And it's a collective of female scientists and medical professionals that have come together to write these books. So this is one. They have also come out with La vida secreta de los mocos, boogers, and then La vida secreta, like there's so many. So it's fun. I love putting this in a collection. And as I said, very relevant for today. Okay, this one for me wins Illustration Award. I love this one. Perdido en la Ciudad. This is from El Zorro Rojo, Lost in the City, by Sydney Smith. One snowy day, a boy gets off the bus and walks between tall office buildings, parks, and busy streets. We don't know where he's going or why. Walking alone through a big city can be scary if you're small. And while walking around, he starts giving advice and precautions as he makes his way through this maze of streets and noise. He finally gets home, and the story takes a turn when we discover what he was looking for and what he didn't find while walking under the snow. I'm just gonna show you a couple of my favorite scenes here. Just really beautiful detail. And the black outline I love with the color palette. It's gorgeous, it's fun, it's teaching children how to navigate a city and all about those emotions. So this also has that social emotional component, which we all know is more important than ever right now. ¿Por qué no floreces? Why won't you bloom? A really sweet story, ages 3 and up probably. A little bear rejoices discovering a strange plant in his garden. Each day, little bear waters it and protects it from the sun and never forgets to say buenas noches. And why won't it bloom? It's a really fun story for little ones. Little inside clips. Okay. Un final inesperado, an unexpected ending from Tramontana again. This is an alternate point of view, which are always fun for kids. So in all stories, the bad guy's typically the wolf, and he's so tired of being the bad one. So can we change the roles? As you can see here, it's a really fun story where we're getting a variation from the traditional. De mal humor, in a bad mood, from Tramontana also. This is for 5+. It's a rainy morning, and Mr. James forgets to kiss Mrs. James before leaving the house, which puts her in a very bad mood. And she gets upset with her son, who gets upset with Sally, who gets upset with Marjorie, who gets upset with Eddie, who gets upset with the dog. But the dog just wants to play. And so good thing that it kind of like loosens things up. So here you get about you see familiar emotions, and you see families working through things. It's a sweet one, and I love the vintage illustrations here. Spider Elefante, Tramontana again. So this is a 3+, really fun. When he wakes up, Juan the elephant discovers a furry little creature with many legs and big eyes on the back of its head. It's a spider. So now we're asking all these questions about the spider. Is it gonna eat me? Will it lay eggs on my head? It's a really fun story. A lot of moments where, you know, the kids can repeat or they can guess what the next word is gonna be. Great for a read aloud. Humorous as well. Enigmas. This is a fun book for older kids, probably like 6, 7, 8. It's mysteries that are based on scientific principles. So really great for those kids that are driven with in nonfiction and interested in science. It's fun. You play, experiment, you learn. Little glimpse of the inside there. ¿Cuánto tiempo vive? How long does it live? In this book, we learn about the length of life of different beings and different plants and animals. A hibiscus flower doesn't make it a day, but a whale lives 200 years. And so really fun, I think, for little ones as they begin to understand the concept of time and age and all of those things. It's got a really, really beautiful inside infographic style, but very kid-friendly and playful. And with each, you see here, like León, 27 years, Serpiente Pitón, 20 años. It's fun. Geográficos, geographics. This is a cool one. I can see kids of all ages opening this up, but it's more for like 8+, where we learn about the solar system. And we can ask questions like, why are stars different colors? How big does the sun look from other planets and the universe? And all of those things that we're curious about with the solar system. And this book explains them all through extraordinary geometric graphics full of color that aid in the comparison and that unite art with geography. I think we really love any book where you're kind of seeing multiple disciplines coming together. And so we would call this an atypical atlas in which the planets, continents, islands transform into circles, polygons, lines, and spirals that explain the world around us. Just a little glimpse here. A similar type of book from Saori again, Paisajes Perdidos de la Tierra. A beautiful collection, a passionate history of the formation of the earth and its evolution. And we see really unique illustrations, ink illustrations of flora and fauna from the Paleozoic and Mesozoic periods. And there's a timeline throughout the book, which I love, so that you can see at what point in history you are throughout the entire thing. And here's a little glimpse. Fun. Wakala. Translation, yuck, ew, blech, gross, nasty. So many words to translate from wakala. This is from Amanuta, we love it. Science, nature, human body, animals, 8+ probably. So I didn't translate this one. So did you know that, that every day you swallow about a cup of mocos, like a cup of mucus? So a lot of like things that I think kids are gonna love to read about. It's gross for some, but some kids love this stuff. So, and that if you have dry lips, that one of the best solutions is to put earwax on them. Gross. All these things and a lot of other gross things that you'll be able to see in this book. So it's fun for some. You can fast forward if you don't want. Okay, so El Mundo es mi casa. This is one of my personal favorites. The world is my home. We're gonna zoom through these. I have a few more. Okay, so it's like an album and a documentary. This book is a trip around the world as seen by children. Each child tells about their daily life, their home, their school, their favorite foods, traditional celebrations. You learn their name, and I love the illustrations. There are many opportunities here for the reader to discover different cultures and climates and customs and get to know these kids, you know, in their own home, in their cozy space. Here's a little sample from inside. It's really beautiful. And you learn a little of the language too. Vegetariano. This one's fun. I loved it. So Roman is 8 years old and he has a really chill life. When one day at his home, somebody rings the doorbell and he opens the door and discovers it's 2 chickens and they want to judge him for animal murder. It's fun, right? Our protagonist is accused of having eaten since his early childhood a large quantity of salchichas, hot dogs, hamburguesas, lunch meat, chicken wings, and they go to trial and there are hens and cute little chicks. I'm gonna go to the next one. And it's a comical book that gets you thinking about how you eat and why you eat, what you eat. And let's talk about it early because we're gonna talk about it eventually. So really fun. I love the illustrations. This reminds me a lot of the books that I read when I was little. And these illustrations, I feel like, are bound to become nostalgic to a lot of kids today. Nanukita, love this. So the women of a town have waited for years for a girl who, according to prophecy, will save their people from extinction. After a strong storm, Nanukita appears on the back of a white bear. Could this be the girl that's gonna do it? So I'll go forward, but really beautiful, great for older, little younger kids. Okay. These are for the older kids now, so young adult. Canción sobre un niño perdido en la nieve. This one, or Song about a boy lost in the snow. This is a homage to A Christmas Carol by Toño Malpica from Naranjo. And this is a really beautiful book where it's set on Christmas Eve, but it's a different take on it. And you can explore the streets of London and accompany classic characters from that classic book Christmas Carol in this homage by Toño. So let's keep going. Quick. Okay, Migrantes. This is a beautiful book. I think this is ideal for a mentor text for teachers. History shows us that without immigration, we would not exist as people. So without having been migrant people, the human race wouldn't be as it is today. For many, immigration is one of the most important problems in contemporary society. But what are the problems? Why is there so much debate on the topic of it? And this is a detailed account of one of the oldest and decisive social and political phenomena of humanity. This is an invitation to open discussion and remember the complexity of the subject and propose an inclusive outlook to try and understand it. I want to read it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Christina. So we are out of time, but there's one question in the chat that I do want you to give an answer for. It's someone is asking if you know if the publishers will be offering digital copies.
Yes, we do when we curate collections, we also do curate digital collections, but we typically will do a hard copy with a digital copy.
Okay. And thank you so much. They all sound great. Guacatela, I think, is going to be on my order sheet for sure.
Guacala?
Guacala, yeah. Sorry.
So here's my information. I gave it at the end instead of the beginning. Feel free to reach out to me, you guys, if you want these plus like 100 more that we've actually just put together. There's my email and my direct phone number. Okay. Or just reach out to La Libreria. We're here.
We've also put her contact information in the chat and it can be found on our Reforma Book Buzz website. Thank you so much, Christina.
Of course. I need to stop sharing, right?
Yes, please. And then our third presenter is Mariela Diaz from Spanish Publishers.
Sorry, I'm trying to find the thingy. Oh, here we go.
It's okay.
Stop share. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Christina. Our third presenter is Mariela Diaz from Spanish Publishers. Spanish Publishers is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit reforma.org/bookbuzz and remember to use hashtag Reforma Book Buzz if you're tweeting or posting on Facebook. Feel free to add your questions to the comment box during the presentation and they will be answered at the end. Mariela's information will also be added to the comment box if you need it. Thank you all so much. Mariela?
Thank you, Celia. It's my pleasure to say hello. Some of you already know me. For those who don't know me, my name is Mariela Diaz. I work for Spanish publishers since May 2009, almost 11 years. Spanish Publishers has the exclusive distribution of 14 publishers, 11 from Spain and 3 from Mexico. 2 more publishers will be part of the Spanish Publishers family this year. These 2 publishers are Hedisa and Attica. Our company has stock available in the United States in our warehouse in Miami, the Sunshine City. We have more than 6,000 different titles in Spanish. We have 100 new releases per month, trending US bestsellers. Also, we customize your collection as per your favorite community preferences. You may buy the books through your preferred distributor. So let's go with the first book. Cómo atrapar un elfo. The author is Adam Wallace. So you have the Amazon bestseller rank, which is number 27 in children's Christmas books, a New York Times and USA Today bestseller. It's a great book to encourage young readers to problem solving, practice engineering skills, and most importantly, to let their imagination run while fill the room with laughter. Let's go to the next one, please. Cómo atrapar una sirena, same author, Adam Wallace. In this case, you will see the Amazon rank, which I love to show the Amazon rank. This will let you know the importance of the book, and that's why this book is translated into different languages, including Spanish. In this case, we have Amazon rank bestseller. It's number 25 in books, number 1 in children's marine life books, number 1 in children's mermaid folk tales and myths, number 2 in stories in verse, a mermaid tale from the New York Times and USA Today bestselling, How to Catch Series. The illustrations are bright and colorful, exactly what you would expect in a book about mermaids, great for toddlers, teaching about how to use imagination to solve problems. The next one, please. Hablando Sola, Tratado de la Amistad by Daniela Rivera. This one is an authentic author. This book is about friendship and friends. Friends are chocolate chips in the cookies, the chicken soup when it's cold, and the ice water on hot days. Friendship is a telescope that looks at where all the stars and all the planets align, so that at some point the friends meet and, with a look and smile, agree on a loving pact for lifetime. Let's go to the next one, please. Tomar, manejar, morir o vivir. With various topics such as alcohol abuse, grief, loss, and sorrow. A book that is considered necessary for the young adult, and it's good for them to read. In a fraction of a second, 4 lives change forever. After a few drinks, Felix faced a game between life and death and stopped living. However, they have to move on, surviving the absence of one, waiting for another to wake up and heal. They must hold onto each other and themselves if it's possible. Next one, please. Tagueada. This one is a young adult non-fiction book. Generalized anxiety disorder is one of the most common mental health problems among teens. It can significantly affect the lives of people who suffer from it, studies, work, and relationships. Charlie's story illustrates the suffering caused by dilemma he lives every day, avoiding his anxieties or face them. The next one, please. Seis historias de sí y de no. The uncle says yes to the little nephew. The child says no to mom and dad. The grandparents sometimes say yes and other times no. Stories to read, grow, and learn to respect. And then let's go to the next one, please. This is another one part of the series, which is Seis Historias sobre Emociones. 6 rhyming stories and colorful illustrations that help children grow by choosing their responses in every situation. Let's go to the next one, please. Seis historias sobre papá. 6 color illustrated stories to show the little ones how many things their dad knows how to do. Our children always have a handyman next to them, someone who plays with them, the best counselor, and the one who knows everything. Whichever your father is, he's the best because he gives you everything, especially love. And the next one is also part of this collection of 6 stories. In this case, it's 6 stories to answer your questions and curiosities. Why do I have to sleep? Why can I always eat candies? Why do we need money? You will see another one at the end of the presentation. Then we have these 4-9 chapter number 2. This is the most updated, definitive, independent and official book about 4-9, and this one is chapter 2. Discover 100% of the secrets of the new island map, combat tips, facts, figures, fun, surprises, and much more. The most important video game, book, in story. The next one, please. Five Nights at Freddy, El Cuarto al Armario. The Amazon rank here is 15 in number 15 in teen and young adult ghost series, number 20 in teen and young adult TV video games adaptations. From the number 1 New York Times bestselling authors, a pulse-pounding conclusion of the best-selling trilogy from creator of the horror video game sensation Five Nights at Freddy's, a favorite book of all the times. Let's have the next one, please. El Libro del Cementerio, this first paperback edition of the glorious 2-volume full-color graphic novel adaptation of Neil Gaiman's number 1 New York Times best-selling and Newbery Medal-winning novel, The Graveyard Book. A vastly entertaining adaptation. It's a treasure worth having, even if the novel is already on the shelf. This one is a Published Weekly review. The next one, please. La Prometida from Kiera Kass, an instant number 1 New York Times bestseller from bestselling author of the Selection series. Do you remember Selection series were awesome? Amazon bestseller rank is number 47 in teen and young adult friendship fiction, number 48 in young adult girls and women fiction, number 93 in teen and young adult fantasy romance. Fans of the Selection series will anxiously await for the second installment of this duology to learn Holly's fate. Let's go to the next one, please. Luis Sol y las Pesadillas. This one is another authentic author. You can see the Amazon rank in Mexico is number 25 in children comic superhero, number 34 in dreams, number 49 in kids books for parents. Has it happened to you that sometimes you don't want to go sleep because some unpleasant dreams begin to populate your head? The same happens to Luis Sol. Where are these horrible nightmares coming from? Where are these horrible nightmares coming from? You will find the ideal technique to confront those frightening dreams, and sleep in peace. Another authentic author, Las Aventuras de Gadita en Cádiz. This one is a work in which poetry, music, games, and magic are mixed. Carmen Gil has more than 100 books published with prestigious publishers, and they have been translated in about 20 languages. She has several national and international awards and prizes to her credit, including 1 silver and 3 gold medals. Let's go to the next one, please. Historia de la Semana Santa de Sevilla para niños. It's another authentic author. It's by the author of Historia de Madrid para niños. This fantastic monastic world and the history of the Sevilla Holy Week as told through the eyes of a child in a pleasant yet rigorous way show how to love and respect the great heritage of the city artistically and spiritually. Let's go to the next one, please. Las historias más bellas de mujeres valientes, from Marie Curie, Science to the Art of Frida Kahlo, Amelia Earhart, the first female aviator, to Valentina Tereskova, the first astronaut, through Voice of Ella Fitzgerald, The Courage of Rosa Parks, or The Determination of Malala. This book shares the stories of brave women who have improved the world. The next one, please. El lenguaje de las emociones, Barbara Franco, another original author. Thanks to the wonderful illustrations and the clear and simple text, children will be able to open up and get to know their own inner world and others as if were a beautiful adventure. This one was the one that we were talking at the very beginning. The next one, please. 6 historias para salvar el planeta, which is part of the collection of 6 historias. From the children's perspective, we tell 6 stories in which they will see how to avoid plastics, city pollution, and beach garbage. This one is very, very important. The next one, please. Zapatos de Hierro, Alejandro Viveros. This one is a children's fiction. In this case, it's an excellent story in a magical place. We must learn from Nilka not to let anything prevent us from daydream. A very short story, but with a message that leaves you thinking longer than it took you to read the book. Let's go to the next one, please. El Hijo Infinito, Adam Silvera. New York Times Publishers Weekly, an indie-bound bestseller. Amazon Best Rank, 52 in teen young adult fiction about new experiences, 101 in teen and young adult sibling fiction. Silvera has created an exciting fantasy series opener. Fans of Cassandra Clare will love this magical book that embodies it all. This one is a review from School Library Journal. Let's go to the next one, please. Simón y el Sauce Llorón. Simon is a very happy child, but everything changed when his parents announced they were going to divorce. He is convinced that nobody understands him until one day he meets a magical and wise Willow, who will become his great friend and help him through the difficult moment of separation of his parents. This one is a very important title. The next one, please. A la Casa de Houdini. It's a young adult book. As you can see, there's reviews from Kirkus Reviews, from Book List, from School Library Journal. And this is the #1 best-selling series that started with Stalking Jack the Ripper and Hunting Prince Dracula, continues its streak in this third bloody installment. Audrey Rose and Thomas Creswell find themselves aboard a luxury ocean liner that become a floating prison of horror when passengers are murdered one by one, with nowhere to run from the killer. Let's go to the next one, please. Amelia Sabe Volar, a fun book about the life of Mrs. Amelia Earhart, very inspirational for kids. This lyrical, lovely picture book depicts Amelia Earhart as a young girl growing up with a dream of flying, biographical details, and included at the end of the book. Biographical details are included at the end of the book. The next one, please. Felicidad, Manual del Usuario. It's a children's book. Are you looking for happiness? Sometimes it can feel rarely, far away. Sometimes you might have so much you can help but share. You can try to chase it, control it, or capture it. But even if it seems like it's gone for a while, you will know it's never far away. Next one, please. Origami del Unicornio Mágico includes 24 sheets in rainbow or origami paper. With the sheets of rainbow paper that are included, children aged 6 or more can get started straight away and bring their extraordinary origami figures to life. Let's go to the next one, please. Vamos al dentista. This one is an Amazon bestseller, ranked number 83 in children's Christian holiday fiction. A book that teaches the little ones their daily activities and how to take care of their teeth. Also to approach the reason and motivates them to must visit the dentist because they are always afraid of dentists. Next one, please. La princesa traviesa contra el caballero valiente. A droll portrait of love-hate sibling born both medieval and modern, Publishers Weekly. So this is a book that tells a story of a brother and sister that were always fighting, and at the end they find that they don't have to fight, that they are brothers and sisters, and that they have to have a very good relationship. The next one. Oh, estoy leyendo. This one is I'm reading, a very nice one. A fanciful celebration of pleasure of reading. This is very good for kids to start reading and to let them know how to love reading. Do not stop. Bella is busy reading. Please come back when she has finished the utterly amazing and totally incredible book. A fantastically funny tale celebrating imagination and the joy of reading. Next one. Abuelo Árbol. Contemporary lifestyle is disconnecting new generations from nature. Grandpa Tree calls us to bring our kids closer to nature, to explain to them the magic that happens around each tree, each plant, and how the earth offers us life. And this one was the last one. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can reach me, mariela@spanishpublishers.net.
Gracias, Mariela. Someone just mentioned that they wondered why the author of the first title wrote Atrapar un elfo instead of duende. I don't know if you have an answer for that.
Atrapar un elfo. What was the question?
Instead of using the word duende.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again, Mariela. And just as a reminder, Mariela's contact info has been added to the chat. So if you want to follow up on any of the titles you saw, you can follow up with her. Our next presenter is Rebecca Jensen from Lorito Books. Lorito Books is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit reforma.org/bookbuzz. And remember to use our hashtag #ReformaBookBuzz. And once again, feel free to add your questions to the comment box during the presentation, and they will be answered at the end. Rebecca?
Thank you. Let me just pull out the screen share. Thank you all so much. It has been a strange year, certainly, and it has been odd not to be seeing you all in person at different book fairs and conferences. So it's so nice to be able to be on this Book Buzz and talk about some of our favorite new books. So thank you so much to all of the organizers. I know that this has been a lot of work to put together, and I really appreciate it. So I'm Rebecca Jensen. I'm the manager of Lorito Books. We are a distributor of children's through young adult, as well as some parenting and family wellness titles. We distribute books from all throughout Latin America and Spain, and we also work with some US publishers as well. Our goal is to support Spanish-speaking children and their families. We aim to have a geographically and culturally diverse collection. This year, we usually select books through Feel and Liber, and of course, with those conferences or those book fairs being virtual, there were some books that have been delayed in publication and are now finally being released. And I think some books that came out last year that maybe didn't get the attention that they deserved due to the pandemic and the lack of conferences. So many new books that we're so excited about, but to narrow it down a little bit, I'm going to talk to you today about some of our favorite new board books, as well as highlight some books from our Equity and SEL collection. So first books, this is a new series from Editorial Flamboyant. It's a really fun cooking series, little cooking board books. So it's a little bit hard to see just on a screen here, but these books have moving parts. So you can, to build a salad, you can grate the carrots, slice tomatoes, wash veggies, dress the salad. A couple of the things I love about this series, we have little hands assisting with safe cooking steps, and then we have larger adult hands who do the grating and the cutting. Another great thing about this series is the moving pieces are all slides or rotating pieces that are embedded within the board book pages, so there's nothing that can tear off. They're really sturdy for library circulation. Also in this series, there's Fruta y Pasta. This is a great series to introduce babies who are starting salads or toddlers who are interested in observing and helping in the kitchen. Next, we have a couple of board books by Canizales. These are published by Nube Ocho. ¿Quién se comió mi fruta? So, who ate my fruit? Little cat is hungry and he's looking forward to all of the fruit that he has waiting for him. So he's thinking about what he has. He has a pear, a pineapple, a strawberry, a banana. But oh no, what happened to his pear? So there is a lift the flap over the right half of the pear. You can lift it up and see that the seal is eating his pear. And this poor little cat, he realizes as he searches for each different piece of fruit that someone has been eating all of it. But at the end, his friends have a surprise for him, and he gets some fruit after all. So also in this series, we have ¿Quién se comió mi pastel? Who ate my cake? And also by Canizales from Lata de Sal Delicioso. Sorry, my dialogues are in the way. So this is a board book with die cuts where you see a piece of candy and the narrator says, would you like a piece of candy? And you turn the page and the die cut turns into a piece of fruit and you say, no, I would much prefer a strawberry or a grape. So it's a great, fun, really bright book for making healthy choices. Next, we have a best-selling picture book series from Ediciones Jaguar that has been converted into a board book series. So these are all by Gracia Iglesias and Sarah Sanchez, and they all feature really funny rhyming text. In this book, Nyam Nyam Marcelina, Marcelina the giraffe is so excited to have her niece over for the evening, so she decides to make her a special soup. The problem is that Marcelina is a really terrible cook. As you can see, she's pouring cola into the soup. So she gets advice from a lot of her friends on how best to make this soup, and it turns out absolutely terrible, but they wind up all making a not terrible salad in the end. Also in this board book series, we have Achus Felipe about a poor little elephant who has a cold, which is very relatable right now. He just wants to get rid of it and he's willing to do anything to get better. And then we have Oink Oink Timoteo about a boar who lives in an absolute pigsty, but his friend invites him to dinner and he realizes that he needs to clean up his act. Next from Naranjo, we have Cosas de Casa by Jairo Buitrago and illustrated by Rafael Yachteng. These two have collaborated on a large number of books at this point, and one of the things I love is that they are all so different. You know, some authors and illustrators, as soon as you see it, you recognize it, but everything they do is a little bit different, but always really beautiful. This is a great daily living book about our narrator introduces himself in the morning as the sunlight is coming in. He talks about the things that he does throughout his day, and winding down in the evening, bath with his brother, and his grandmother tucks him in for bed. So a beautiful story about just daily living and family. I like that it leaves the living situation a little bit open. We're not sure whether the grandmother is just living with the boys or if she's a primary caregiver. So it's just a beautiful multi-generational book. And then from Periplo, we have a couple of basic concept board books. El Jardín nos enseña los colores. So we have really rich illustrations here illustrating both colors and flowers. And then same series by Marcos Farina, Los animales nos enseñan los opuestos. Animals teach us opposites. So we have the little ant and big anteater. One of the things that I think is so special about authentic Spanish language books is that, like we saw from Periplo, there are beautiful basic concept board books, but there are also board books that have really rich language and full stories, which is something that we don't see, or that I don't see quite as often in English language books. And I love that with these authentic Spanish board books, even the youngest readers get full stories and beautiful, rich language. So here are a couple of books by Amanuta, Que Llueva. This is a traditional song about the rain and nature, and a couple of children who are enjoying it. And there is a QR code on the back of this book with a link to Amanuta so you can listen to the song. And then Olas Vienen, Olas Van, Waves Come, Waves Go by Estrella Ortiz. This has a really rhythmic, soothing text that evokes dreams and waves. This has a really magical and beautiful illustrations that soothe kids to sleep and wish them peaceful, magical dreams. Then the Rosa series from Child's Play USA. The Rosa series has been out for a little while in English, and we were so excited when they released these bilingual board book editions. So Rosa is playing here with cars in a preschool or daycare setting. One of the things I love about Rosa is that she doesn't conform to gender stereotypes, and there are tons of onomatopoeias in these books. So she's also has the books Rosa plays ball, rides her scooter, and Los Dinosaurios, Rosa Loves Dinosaurs. So a few books from our Equity and SEL collection. This collection is founded on our belief that that books and conversations around books help children to love themselves, care for others, and grow into socially responsible and well-adjusted individuals. But part of that belief is also the belief that children need to see themselves represented in the books that they read, as well as see plenty of other cultures, people, and situations represented. So first, here we have La Maleta by Chris Naylor Ballesteros. This is a translation from Letra from English. The English edition has gotten fantastic reviews from Kirkus and SLJ. This is the story of a little stranger who comes to a new land. When he arrives, the animals in this new land are a little wary of this stranger, and they ask him what's in his suitcase. And he says, well, I have a teacup in my suitcase. And they say, oh, is that all? He says, well, no, I also have a table and chair. I have a house that overlooks the sea. And he starts to remember his home that he's left behind. He's very weary from his journey, so he takes a nap and dreams of the danger that he has just overcome. And meanwhile, the animals in this new land are talking about the stranger and whether or not they can trust him. They think that it's impossible what he says, that his suitcase could have a chair and a table and a teacup and a house. So they decide to break open the suitcase while he's sleeping, and they discover the teacup, which has been broken, as well as a photo of the stranger's home that he's left behind. And now the animals are starting to realize all that he has been through and are having empathy for him. And magically, in the time that it takes the stranger to sleep, they have glued back together his teacup and created a new home and table and chair for him. And now the stranger is no longer a stranger, but a new friend. So this is a fantastic book for younger kids and older kids. Can be used to talk about kindness and welcoming newcomers, and also with older children talking about refugees and the migration experience. And then El Gran Libro de los Supertesoros by Susana Sernan Rocio Bonilla from Flamboyant. This is the second book in this sort of series. The first book is the big book of superpowers. So each page spread in this book features a different character. Here we have Sarah, who values her friends. So each page talks about what the little vignettes narrator values, what their super treasure is. We have friendship, family, quiet time, reading books, adventure. So just a great book about thankfulness and what children value. And then we have Que Suerte Tengo by Laurent Schimmel. This is a really sweet book about a boy and his brother. The narrator has a brother, Jose, who is blind, and he talks about his life with his brother at home and how it differs from when he goes over to friends' house who are only children and what their lives look like. So at first he talks about how lucky his friends are. They don't have to share with brothers, things like that. And then he talks about his brother Jose and how lucky he is because he has a service dog and he has a fantastic memory, and he can read after his mom shuts out the lights at night. He can read in bed without the lights on. And this book features, in the middle, there's a section in Braille. And then at the end, you can see a transcription of what was written in Braille. So by the end of the book, the narrator realizes that, yes, Jose is lucky, but he is also very lucky because he has a brother like Jose. And then this last book, we're so excited for this new release, Sábado by Lata de Sal. This is the translation of Saturday by Oge Mora. I just spoke with the editor at Lata de Sal yesterday, and she said she's just waiting on final approval from the US publisher for this book to go into print. So it should be available in March. This is a really beautiful book about Ava and her mother. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, but Ava looks forward all week to Saturdays because her mom works every other day of the week. So Saturday is their special day. And they have all these things planned. They're going to go to the library for story time and go and get their hair done and go to the park and then finally go to a puppet show in the evening. But almost as soon as they leave their home, things start to go awry. The story time at the library is canceled. Right after they get their hair done, a big splash gets them wet and ruins their hair. There's no room for them at the park. And throughout all these things, they have this great system where Ava is disappointed, but her mother encourages her, and they pause and they take a deep breath and close their eyes, and then they move on. And then by the end of the book, they're getting ready to go to their puppet show, and they get there and realize that they've left their tickets at home. And now it's Ava's mother who is so disappointed that she's ruined their Saturday. But Ava gives her mom a hug and says, "No, Mom, don't worry. Saturdays are special because we're together." So a really beautiful, sweet book about thankfulness and family, and also isn't preachy, but it offers some really good coping mechanisms for dealing with disappointment. So that's all. Thank you so much for joining. You can reach me at rebecca@readallbooks.com. Here's my phone number. If you're interested in ordering, you can submit purchase orders through our website or just email them to me, and please feel free to reach out with any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. I don't see any questions in the chat, but everybody is really excited about the books that you showed today. I know there's definitely the board books were really cute. So
Thank you.
And so thank you so much, Rebecca. Our last presenter is Marjorie Samper from Lectorum Publications. Lectorum Publications is a corporate member of Reforma. For more information about this company and contact information, please visit reforma.org/bookbuzz. And remember to use our tag, #ReformaBookBuzz, on social media if you're posting about our event. We will also be adding the contact information in the chat box for those of you that need it. Feel free to add your questions to the comment box during the presentation, and they will be answered at the end. And thank you, Marjorie.
Thank you. You sharing?
Right along.
Okay, hello everybody. While Chastity gets our presentation on screen, I realized I chose way too many books, so I will be going through them at probably lightning speed. So if I run out of time or you have any questions about any book you want in more detail, please let Ingeborg know, and she'd be more than happy to give you the information. Our first book that I would like to present is the translation of Rolly Jefferson's Awesome Friendly Adventure. Rolly is Greg's best friend, and this is a spinoff, which I particularly like because I always like Rolly better than Greg. And this is, we also have the first one that came out probably about a year or so ago. I'd like you to know that we adapt these books. We do not use the translation from Spain because a lot of the humor is not understood with the slang. So these are all adapted by us. And I did want you to know that Greg, Die Ever Wimpy Kid 15 just arrived in our warehouse last week. So if you have fans of that, that is also available. The next book I'd like to present is Ave Oficios. This is a board book that presents a career for every single letter of the alphabet, which is then followed by a short verse that explains what the career is all about. The third book is by a Mexican author, Roxana Erdman. This is the second book that we have with this character. It's Ajonjolí y el viaje a la luna. And this is a book that I think a lot of parents today can relate to because the character is stuck at home and she's bored. And so with a little bit of imagination and stuff that she finds around the house, she manages to take a trip to the moon. The next book is Astronautas. This is a nonfiction book. It was named one of New York Public Library's best books of 2020. And it teaches young children through graphics and not all that much text about what astronauts do, what they eat, and what life is like even on the space station. The next book is Binky, Agente Espacial, which is a true favorite of mine because I'm a cat person. And it is a graphic novel with this, all this cat wants to do is go to outer space. But then the cat realizes if she goes to outer space, who is going to save her humans from the aliens that are coming? And a second book in this Binky series was just published, which we should have in about a month or two. This book, Blas, is originally written in Spanish. Blas is a very everyday, ordinary dog, does stuff that dogs do. But at the same time, every single day, he plops down on the carpet in the same spot and no one can figure out why until they learn that the neighbor downstairs is a musician and practices, and Blas loves the music, so that's what he's listening to.
Hola, I'm going to interrupt you just for a quick second. It looks like we have your screen being mirrored. It's not being mirrored. Is it possible to go to your display settings at the top and just click on mirror image?
Mirror image.
Yes, the last option, duplicate slideshow.
The second one there.
You got it there?
Yes, perfect. Gracias.
Okay.
Okay, the next book is Crema de Cacahuete y Medu. This is the 5th book in the series that we have. They're graphic novels, and the character in this book, Narval, tries peanut butter for the first time and goes crazy. That's now his favorite thing. And what's really great about this particular book is after each sort of short little section, it teaches children about marine life. It gives them actual information. The next book is Chica Lobo, Perdidos en el Bosque, again named one of New York Public Library's best books of 2020. It's Wolf Girl. This is the first book in the series. We did get the second book in the series, and it is about a young girl who's separated from her family, and she must survive, and she ends up surviving with the help of wolves and dogs. And it really is a great story. I think, especially for girls, but boys would like it too. This next book is a second part. This is the second part of The Storm Runner. This is Rick Riordan series that involves books that have mythology, and this one involves Mayan mythology. So it's by Jennifer Cervantes. So I really recommend it because it brings in mythical worlds, fantasy, survival. There's even, there's animals. It's really a fun read. Next book, El Libro de los Saludos. Again, one of New York Public Library's best books of 2020. This teaches why we shake hands, why we bow, the history behind certain greetings such as hello, ciao, goodbye. And what I think is really neat, since it was just published, it even talks about how, because of COVID, the way we greet people has changed over time. Next book is En Algún Lugar Todavía Brilla el Sol. To a lot of the librarians, it should look familiar because in September, we were lucky enough to participate with librarians with a Zoom presentation of this particular writer. He is a Holocaust survivor from Czechoslovakia, and he shares how his mother saved them from going to Auschwitz, and then what happened after the war and when he came to the US. And I do believe that event was recorded. So if anybody did want to see his presentation, I'm sure we can get that for you. And since it was just Holocaust Remembrance Day, I think it would be great to add to programming. I am out of order. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Next book is En Busca del Ayer. This is a wonderful story where this little boy tells his grandfather that he wants to return to yesterday because that was the happiest day in his life. And his grandfather tells him that he can actually be happy every single day. He does not have to go back to the past. So it does have a very, very powerful message and really some beautiful illustrations. The next book, again, very timely, Lávate las manos, María.
Las estrellas.
Oh, I'm missing Las Estrellas? Oh my goodness, this is my favorite book. I don't know how I could go out of order. This is Las Estrellas, and I wish I had an hour to talk about this book. It just came out. It's the same writer of a book that we have called Asada, and it's about a young Hasidic boy who wants to be an astronaut, and his parents tell him, no, you know, you have to work in our family store later. But he has to take his kids to the park. I mean, his kids to the park, I'm sorry, his brothers and sisters to the park. And there he sees a young Muslim girl reading a book about space, and the two become great friends. He introduces her to her first bagel, and their two communities are not happy about their friendship. They want to keep them apart, where they build a fence between the two houses because they're neighbors. And then once he figures out how to tunnel under the fence, he discovers that the girl's family has moved away. Later, he follows his dream. He goes to an international conference about space, and who should he see but this little girl? And I mean, I don't really want to give the ending away, but they do get married, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. It touches on so much. Okay, now Lávate las manos, María this little girl doesn't want to wash her hands. She likes it when she's covered with paint and dirt. And, she's got twin brothers, so they're always washing their hands. So she certainly doesn't want to do what they do. And then her parents sort of teach her the importance of washing her hands. And at first she says, well, insects don't do it. And parents say, well, yeah, they wash their feet in water. And so she learns, okay, good hygiene is important. And there's even a song that teaches children the importance of washing their hands, which of course everyone does talk about now. Next book is Los Besos Perdidos. This little boy's family wakes up late one day. It's a Monday, and there's no time for their routine. He doesn't even have time to get a kiss goodbye from his parents. And that's when he starts thinking, well, what happens, to all the kisses you don't get to give? So he decides then to go around to different people and do things, maybe just give them a kiss, make their day a little brighter. This is a fantastic book. This is called Los Distintos. It's an original work in Spanish. It was a finalist for the 2021 Premio Fundación Cuatro Gatos Award, and also named one of New York Public Library's best books. And this takes place, it starts in Spain during the Civil War, where this brother and sister's family, they have to leave Spain because the father was on the side of the Republic, and they end up moving to Venezuela. And what's great about this book is I think it can teach children today that there have been refugees throughout history, all different wars, and it ends up with them having a really wonderful life that they could rebuild. This is another book, another Holocaust book. I learned a lot from this. It's called Los Libros de la Señora Jella. And this is the story of Jella Lippmann, who was German. Her family had to flee because they were Jewish. And after the war, when she comes back, she sees that all the children, they have obviously nothing to read. They have no hope. Everything is destroyed in the town where she was from. So she started a book exhibit, and she created like an oasis for these children in the middle of the ruins. Moving on to nonfiction, this is a great book for all music lovers. It's Maestros de la Música. It starts with the way early time of music, and it is such a wonderful survey. It has like Gregorian chants all the way up to, it has modern classical music. It has even today's sort of electronic stuff. It's really fantastic. It's filled with a lot of pictures. I think it would be great for reluctant readers. I love that particular book. Next book is El Primer Libro del Cosmos, which this is actually the third book that we have in this series. This author does something which is seemingly impossible because he explains through graphics and text, concepts as difficult as quantum physics, relativity, and of course the cosmos in a way that's engaging and you can actually understand it. And that to me is like near impossible, but this is like for ages, I would say about 10 and up, grades 5 through 8. Next book, Microbios Monstruosos. This book has a question and answer format, and it explains all about harmful viruses, bacteria, in a way that's very easy to understand. And there are little experiments at the end that are perfectly safe for children of all ages. And there's even some questions that they can answer to test comprehension. So now, especially with everything in the news, I think it's a wonderful book that's not scary. Here we have Oda a una cebolla. This is a translation from English that offers a little biography on Pablo Neruda, and it explains the inspiration behind this famous poem that he wrote. And at the end of the book, it actually shares the full text of the poem. Now for something very light, this is a new series of books that we have, Skeleton Keys. This is the second book in the series. If the artwork looks sort of familiar, it is by the same people who did Stitchhead. And this is really cool if you can see the back. This is Skeleton Keys. And in this book, the character Luna Moon's relatives are disappearing, and could it be their grandfather's angry ghost? They have to sort of figure out what's happening to everybody. Next book is Solo es Uno. This is a very fun book. This rhinoceros here on the cover, he's given a candy and he unwraps it and he doesn't know what to do with the wrapper. So he just decides to throw it on the ground. And he started doing that. Other people in this village start to do that, and then everybody becomes very selfish. People will listen to their music, they're blasting, and you see it becomes like a total mess. And it isn't until this, here you can see with all the music and the boombox, which I'm sure is not a term people use anymore, but I'm showing my age. But then it wasn't until this one mouse here decides, well, I'm going to do something nice. This used to be a great place, and plants a flower. And that sort of sets off everything in motion, where then all the other animals in the village decide to clean up the park and everybody becomes very civil to one another again. Well, that was all the children's. Moving on quickly to young adult, which can go very fast because a lot of these are continuations of very popular YA series. We have Edad Oscura, which is the continuation of Iron Gold. It's fantasy nonfiction. It takes place on another planet. It brings back the character of Darrow, who led the revolution that created a new world. And now he has to figure out that he's on Mercury if he wants to still be the hero or be the villain. The next book is El Fin y Otros Inicios. It's the translation of The End and Other Beginnings by one of my favorite writers, Veronica Roth. Unlike most of her books, which are novels, this is a collection of short stories that combines technology with unknown beings. So she always has, a little touch of something that is, very engaging for readers of all ages. This book, Hijos de Virtud y Venganza, is the continuation of Children of Blood and Bone. The author is a Nigerian-American novelist, and in this continuation, Zelia and Amari bring magic back to the Orisha, but it's, you know, it's more powerful, and it brings in, you know, sort of touches of reality with, I see the host, am I out of time or no?
2 more minutes.
2 more minutes? Okay, well then, I recommend that. I'll go through very quickly. Heartstopper 2, it is a graphic novel, LGBT, where these two friends, one's gay, doesn't realize that the other one likes him too. So this combines everything. Cenicienta a Muerto. This has a, you know, all the things that people are looking for. A African-American lesbian main character. 200 years ago, Cinderella dies. So now all the women have to go to a ball where they are chosen if they're going to get married. But this woman, you know, doesn't, the main character does not want to go to the ball. She wants to be with her best friend. Asesinato para Principiantes, which is a good girl's guide to murder. It's a New York Times bestseller, which I'm sure everyone is aware of. We have El Trono de Siete Islas, this one where, and then
This one.
Oh, that one. El Trono de Siete Islas brings, you know, the main character. It's been destined to be the high animancer, but she doesn't want to do that. And then the last book, I'll just so really quickly, it's Amor y Otros Maldiciones, is an Indian-American writer who lives in Colorado. It takes place in Aspen, Colorado, and a princess goes there, and she's given a mission to break this one boy's heart. But of course, he has to fall in love with her first, and it really, it's a great read. I won't take any more time, but I recommend it.
Gracias, Marjorie. You got it right in at the at the timeline. So thank you so much to all of our presenters, Candlewick Press, La Librería, Spanish Publishers, Lorito Books, and Lectorum Publications. This was the second event of the Reforma Virtual Spanish Language Book Buzz Winter Series, featuring 18 distributors and publishers. We have 3 more sessions scheduled, so please visit reforma.org/bookbuzz to register for future events.
Reforma is an affiliate of the American Library Association. We're bringing this program series free of charge. If you would like to support Reforma, consider becoming a member, volunteering, or donating. You can go to reforma.org/get-involved. Our presentation next Tuesday on February 9th will have a Q&A session with Paola Ramos and presentations from Penguin Random House Group Editorial, 5 books, Vintage Español, Sudacuya Editores, and they will all be presenting their new adult titles. Los esperamos a todos. Bye, everyone.